Hey guys, welcome back to the Pulling Curls podcast. Today on episode 232, we are talking about fear-based parenting, so let's untangle it. Hi, I'm Hilary, a serial overcomplicator. I'm also a nurse, mom to three, and the curly head behind Pulling Curls and the Pregnancy Nurse. This podcast aims to help us stop overcomplicating things and remember how much easier it is to keep things simple. Let's smooth out those snarls with Pregnancy and Parenting Untangled, the Pulling Curls podcast. This episode of the Pulling Curls podcast is sponsored by Family Routines. If you are looking to get into a routine with your kids so that you can have these kinds of conversations, be sure and join it. It really helps when your kids are helping out more so that you can kind of do the tough stuff of parenting behind the scenes. Okay, so I had my oldest come on and tell me all the things that I had done wrong on episode 73 of the podcast. And after he came on, I really started to think about all the ways that I have fear-based parenting rather than like abundance parenting or positive parenting, those type of things. I was parenting, especially with him, in a lot of like fear-based areas. And honestly, I think that's very normal for your oldest. Maybe it was just for me. Also, the church that I attend is very fear-based with our kids a lot of the times, especially when I was growing up. It was very fear-based. They were afraid of all these different things, including listening to songs backwards, which I don't even understand as an adult. But, you know, that's where I was coming from, and it wasn't a great place to parent him from. And I just wanted to share with you guys a few of the things that I learned as a mom. And I also wanted to say that I see the marketing, especially around cell phones, and maybe this is the group that I'm in, as extremely fear-based. It is like we are giving our child a gun, literally, and that is what a cell phone is, and that we have to have all these restrictions. It needs to be in a safe, things like that. Whereas our kids are going to have this gun the rest of their lives, and we need to be there to support them, to show them how to use it. Like, it is our job to give them gun safety classes, right? By the way, we don't have any guns at our house. I don't know why I came on this metaphor, but yes, it's our job to show them how to use it and not to be afraid of it, because I think we can all agree that our phones are a very valuable tool for us. So I'm really working on being more positive based or reality based, like what they're going to confront with these specific things. So let's head back to phones. I've actually had a few episodes on cell phones, and my thoughts on it have evolved with time. And with my daughter, we are a lot less restrictive than we were with my sons. And this in some ways. So I will say that one of our main rules right now is that starting at 14, because that's the rule on the internet, is that you have to be 14 in order to be able to like put pictures of yourselves and put yourself out on the internet. At least for, I believe, Facebook and Instagram, you had to be 14. So I said, we are not going to lie and tell them that's not your age. You have to wait until you're 14. But at 14, you get to pick one thing to be on. And at 14, I said that is Be Real, which is the app that she's allowed to use right now. They're only allowed to take pictures at certain times of day. You know, they can comment. It's a nice starter version into social media, because I will say with her, I am more concerned about all the effects that social media can have on a girl. And so starting in this thing where she's only seeing friends, things like that, has really helped me feel a little bit more comfortable in giving her a little bit more leeway with her phone. The other thing that I do is I share what is annoying about whatever she's doing on her phone. So she could sit on her phone and watch YouTube shorts for hours. Forever. So she does have YouTube on her phone. It is restricted. Like, I don't know how they restrict it. We still use the circle in our home. So it's restricted, like their safe search type thing. But when she sits there and wastes so much time, I say, you're not a very fun person when that's all you're doing. And she realizes that. And sometimes we just need somebody to point that out. Honestly, Hilary probably needs somebody to point that out some of the time, because you start to scroll TikTok or Instagram, you get sucked in, and it's not usually in a very positive way. The other thing is having really serious consequences if she doesn't get her stuff done. So I'm usually like, okay, hang out with your phone for half an hour. They're not allowed to be on phones at school. So I know that she wants some time to just, catch up with friends or whatever she's doing on that phone for a little bit. And then I'm like, at the half an hour mark, then you need to start getting your jobs around the house and your homework done. I don't want you just sitting at that table continually texting friends or whatever after that point in time. And I think, what a great thing if she does that in college. She gets home from a stressful day. She gets on her phone, decompresses for a little bit, just like we used to watch TV back in the day. And then she gets on with her work. And if we can start those habits now where it's not forced due to either some filter or how I have her phone set up, if she's doing that on her own, that's going to set her up for a huge benefit when she goes to college. And then also pointing out that I have an issue with it too. So when I find myself that I'm just doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or looking at other people and wishing I was more like them, I mention that to her and say, gosh, I wish I could be different. I wish this was different. I wish I made different choices. And we have that conversation together rather than her thinking you have this scary, horrible gun and it could hurt you. I'm realizing that both of us are carrying the gun and she needs to learn how to carry that gun through the rest of her life. Once again, we don't have a gun, but I'm saying we look at a lot of times these things as they're so scary when in reality, I love my phone. I love how much I can get done on it. I just need to use it right. And I got to show my kids how to use it right too. A couple other areas where I had fear-based parenting, especially with a daughter, is what she wears, right? Like I don't want her to portray the wrong thing to people. Growing up in the church that I grew up in, that was a big thing. Like you don't show your shoulders, your stuff goes to your knee. And I'm letting my daughter pretty much make her own choices as to what she wears. Now, the one thing that I do have on my side is if I'm going to buy something, I need it to reach certain standards. I don't allow like specific sayings on the t-shirts. It's not just, covering certain areas. But if I'm going to buy it, I'll say, I'm not going to buy that, but if you want to buy it, that's fine. Right? And then we have those conversations about, were you cold? Did you feel like you had to cover up? Stuff like that. And so she's experimenting with different things. And it's just been nice to see her make her own choices and realize what she likes and what she doesn't like. And me not having to step in and be like, oh, what are you portraying by wearing that outfit or whatever I was going to say. I love that she's making her own choices in this positive parenting, reality-based parenting way. Another thing is interactions with the opposite gender. When is she going to date? Who is she dating? Stuff like that. And kind of letting her make her own choices in regards to that. We do have some basic rules. Usually at our house, we don't allow people to date until they're 16, but she goes to co-ed parties. She goes to plays with people of the opposite gender. And we've talked about it. And I'm just trying to help her see it in a positive way and make good choices early on instead of just being like at 16, okay, you can date. You can do whatever you want, apparently, which has happened in a lot of households. So we're just easing her in, trying to show her the good and the bad, but hoping that she's going to make good choices because we've worked really hard on her. And I will say the key to all of this is communication. And I just didn't have the time as much when my oldest was the oldest because I had little kids beyond him. So I just didn't have the time to talk to him as much as I do this last one. And I will also say that I knew all along, it took us a while to get pregnant with our last child and trying to I knew I was going to have to gear myself up that this was going to be a marathon because our next child is already a sophomore in college and she's a freshman in high school. So I've got these 4 years that I've got to keep going. I know I've seen a lot of parents who just petered out at the end. They were just too tired to really parent that last kid. So trying to keep it positive maybe helps me not feel so worn down by parenting and also helps her that she'll be able to take these things and use them as she grows up and grows older. And I will say that I'm a much better parent by child number 3 than I was at number 1. And I tell number 1 that frequently. I'm sorry, I was practicing. I wasn't any good at it. And hopefully he understands that. So how are you fear-based parenting versus positive or reality-based parenting? Come over, tell us on Instagram. We'd love to have a chat about it. Thanks you guys for listening. Next week, we're going to talk about postpartum preeclampsia. And then the week after that, we are going to talk about making a weekly to-do list. With organization, so you're not overwhelmed. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining us on the Pulling Curls podcast today. If you liked today's episode, please consider reviewing, sharing, subscribing. It really helps our podcast grow. Thank you.